Hello, everyone, and thank you for tuning in to the Pitt Panther Podcast Series here on Too Close to Call. I am your co-host, Kevin Mihalik, and we're going to start off this episode where we received a voicemail to our hotline from Mike from Mount Lebanon. A Pitt fan called in giving his take on the Pitt UCF game, and we wanted to thank Mike for calling in, share his thoughts on the UCF game, and we want to hear from everybody else out there as well. Call the hotline 484-238-0735. Leave your message, leave your take on Pitt football. 484-238-0735. We'll play it here on the podcast. We'll discuss it right here on the episode. We want to get you guys into the conversation. We want to hear from you out there as much as possible. So do us a favor, call the hotline, let us know, comment on our social media. We appreciate it. Too Close to Call Cast, Pitt Panther Podcast Series. Without further ado, let's get to Mike, and then we'll get to the show.
Hi, my name is Mike. I'm from Mount Lebanon. And my take is on the Pitt UCF game coming up. I'm a huge Pitt fan, but UCF is clearly one of the best programs in the country and one of the best teams in the nation this year. I think they're going to take Pitt apart. Penn State and Virginia are pretty good teams, but Pitt probably should have beat them. It would be a big upset if Pitt were to beat UCF. I think UCF is in the contention for the playoff, and I think they should be considered. It's going to be fun to watch UCF come to Heinz Field and play, and I hope Pitt can hang with them. Let's go Pitt. Thanks.
And hello out there, everybody. What's going on? This is Miho, your host, as always, with the Too Close to Call podcast series. And this individual series we're recording is the Pitt Panthers podcast. So once again, as always, I am joined by my co-host, my old man, Chris Mihalik. Pops, thanks for hopping on once again to talk Pitt Panthers.
Hey, no problem, Miho. Always a pleasure to do so. And, boy, we certainly have a lot to catch up on, don't we?
Yes, we do, man. We missed last week's excitement with UCF, just craziness going on in our lives from the football game and everything, and then the roller coaster of emotion that was the game against Delaware. So why don't we start off on a good note, man? UCF, holy shit, Pitt was able to pull the once-a-year Pitt upset.
Exactly right, and I was in attendance of that game, and you want to talk about roller coaster of emotions. I mean, the way Pitt started that game up 21-0, they looked fantastic. Everything was going well. We had a big special teams play.
And let me interrupt you there, because
go ahead.
Let's talk about one thing that I'm seeing on the social media and the Facebook groups here, and I want to get where you stand on it, because a lot of people are now saying, with the full rebrand that Pitt's trying to put together, Sweet Caroline needs to be put to rest as well, because there's also an aura of somewhat of a curse with Sweet Caroline amongst some of the followers. And after, I believe it was the 21-0 punt return, they hit Sweet Caroline, and it went 28 straight UCF from that point. So what's your take, man?
Well, actually, I wasn't even aware of that until you texted me during the game. And I'm going, oh, wow, I did not know that. So they actually did it twice in the UCF game.
Okay,
and they did it, I believe the second time was, I think, the normal time after the third quarter.
Okay, so they responded better after that then.
Yes, exactly. But I will say, after you told me that, your mother and myself chose not to participate in the Sweet Caroline at the end of the third quarter, trying to break the jinx. And I can come on air and say that, yes, the Mihaliks have successfully broken the sweet Caroline jinx.
That's it. Thank you very much for your service, good sir.
Exactly. Somebody had to do it, and there is video of that, by the way, of my performance in that during that song. And,
We'll have to post that online with this podcast so people can see you breaking the curse.
That would be funny. That would be funny to share and so forth. But you know what? Curse or no curse, I'm kind of agreeing with the rebranding. Let's move on. I'm all for getting rid of it, to be honest with you.
The only thing is they have to replace it with something because typically it's the loudest "Let's Go Pitt" that you get. So they're going to need something else to synchronize everyone once again. Yeah,
that is true. That's a good point. That is a good point. It is definitely the loudest "Let's Go Pitt" cheer, no question about it.
Sure, but so you mentioned heading into the fourth quarter. Take me down the stretch. You guys are there live. Obviously, we may have a different feel watching on the television. What was kind of the vibes in the stadium as Pitt was trying to ultimately pull off the comeback in the upset?
Well, like I said, to start the game, it was euphoria. And then we proceeded to watch, Central Florida score, 24 straight points, whatever it was. And I'm just sitting there going, SOP, we've seen this before. But, then the defense kind of rose to the occasion once or twice. And, then you get into the fourth quarter saying, okay, come on, let's get a stop here. This game's not over. And you can see the ebb and flow go positive again. And honestly, I think my emotions mirror that of the stadiums, to be honest with you. But really, it was the defense that brought the place to its feet, got the momentum going back into Pitt's favor into the fourth quarter. No question about it.
And then we find ourselves in a very similar situation as the week prior. It's 1st and goal. Oh, look at that. Now it's 4th and goal. What the hell are we doing? And I guess Narduzzi heard all the stories, read all the stories, even though he says he doesn't, about being a little bit soft there in those moments because he pulled the rabbit out of his hat, man.
Well, he sure did. And, his post-game interviews were... let's be perfectly clear. This was the offensive coordinator Whipple's call.
Oh, okay.
And, it was absolutely Whipple's call. And
interesting.
When he told Narduzzi said, "Yes, definitely do it. Let's go for it." And Narduzzi said afterwards, "You can't question the offensive coordinator. This is his game. This is his call, and that's what he wanted to run." And I was all for it. And you got to give him credit. You got to give him credit where credit's due. He took enough heat the week before. In the Penn State game, but credit, he needs to be credited for going with the play and trusting his offensive coordinator that it would be successful.
Yeah, Whipple's been impressive, and he had an excellent quote in the moment that's kind of come out afterwards, but the ref came over to the offensive huddle and reminded him that, hey, you can get a first down at the 1-yard line. You don't have to get a touchdown here. And he basically responded with, "Don't worry about it. We're going to score. Get out of here."
Exactly. There was a lot of confidence after that call. Similar to the Philly special, when they called that play, took it to the huddle, a lot of the players were really excited about it and said, this was going to work. And
and you said the Philly special and the East Coast, flavor of this podcast. It was funny because it was the exact same formation and play. Different teams will run kind of the reverse pass back to the quarterback out of different formations. But Pickett even yelled the same word that Nick Foles yelled in that situation. The moment he walked up and started going to his right before they snapped the ball in my head, I go, holy shit, it's the Philly special.
Funny story about after while that was going on, while that play was running and it worked, I yelled to your mother, "That was the Philly special. That was the Philly special." Of course, not many people around me knew what the hell I was talking about, but no sooner did the words come out of my mouth, you texted me the same thing. And I said, "See, I thought so." And funny story, after the game, we're leaving the stadium, and don't I run into a student that's wearing a Pitt T-shirt and a Philadelphia Eagle hat.
Nice.
Obviously we both bonded in multiple ways. And had a good time leaving the stadium.
On a 4th down and 3. Davis. Matthews. Got it! Pickett caught it, and Pitt ties the game.
Holmes in the gun. Lemon to his right. Now lines up behind Foles. Foles moves to the right. It goes directly to Clement. Clement reverses it, and the pass goes into the end zone.
To Nick
and
Foles.
it's a touchdown by Nick Foles.
Oh, hey, and speaking of a good time, that's a good transition, because going into the next week with Delaware, quite a few players out for, quotes in the air, injuries. But the rumor mill is circulating, depending on your sources that you trust out there, that there may have been a little bit of a good time involved with reasoning as to why some of the running backs or quarterbacks or defensive backs did not play against Delaware. What are your thoughts or your takes around some of those rumors on the the Twittersphere social media land?
Yeah, I got to be honest with you, Miho. I heard that. And I really haven't heard anything more about it. I really have not. So I really can't comment one way or the other that took place. I have not heard anything from anybody that I know in Pittsburgh. If any Yinzers want to call in and put in their 2 cents worth on that topic, you and I would love to hear them. But, honestly, I did not hear anything more about that. So at this point, I'm going to call it a rumor.
Yeah, we need to get some sources in the University of
Exactly.
Pittsburgh PD department to get that citation list from the school newspaper that comes out every Wednesday. So
right, exactly.
Yeah,
the good old Pitt News. The Pitt News.
Okay, so we'll take that. So you're going more injury as to why they missed the game. That's totally fine. And I guess the follow-up question to that would be, did Narduzzi, with these injuries, maybe these guys being at 80%, they could have played, we'll sit you, kind of play it as a bye week, we'll beat Delaware anyway. Was there a little too much of that, man? Was there a little bit too much ho-hum? These guys stink. It don't matter who we're going to suit up. We're going to beat them. Or do you really think that these guys needed a week off and, a win's a win, I guess? Where do you stand in on kind of just the whole attitude towards a 1AA Delaware team?
Using a political statement, I would say I'm in the middle of the aisle.
Oh, pansy, pick a side. Jeez. I don't bring you on this podcast to ride the rail.
I say that because I think there's some truth to it. I think Pickett was definitely banged up. Okay.
I agree with that.
I think, who was the quarterback? Was it Pinnock?
Pinnock's hammy. We saw that versus UCF.
Yeah, I think that definitely was the case. And I think the same thing with Reynolds, the linebacker, because he limped off. But, the running backs really surprised me because I saw no indication that they were hurt. Now, here's the other thing that no one really talks about. One of these guys, or both of these guys, they could have got hurt during the week in practice. Who knows? I mean, Pitt's practices are closed, so you don't know when these so-called injuries took place. But I think it was a little bit of both. I really do. I think they thought, okay, we can go with Patty. We'll give Pickett a blow and get ready for the ACC, along with some other guys. There may have been a couple that could have played and probably would have played if it was Duke or, Virginia Tech or Syracuse. I think there was a little bit of that as well. Absolutely.
So you expect to then see these guys back this upcoming weekend at Duke, because if you're listening to Pat Narduzzi's press conferences, he has no idea. He wish he could tell you. I don't know. Next question. Duke's pretty good. You guys got any questions about Duke? No, dude. We just want to know who the hell's playing for you, because if Patty and these backup running backs are playing, I'm probably going to hammer Duke -5. But if all the starters are running out, I'm thinking Pitt +5 may not be the worst bet in the world here, man. Like, come on, you got to give me something, Pat.
Yeah, I know, exactly. It's kind of interesting because that point spread continues to drop as the week goes on here. It's down to 4 right now, and I think it opened at 6. But, that being said, I think Pickett plays. I do not think Pinnock plays. Big question marks are with Reynolds and the running backs. But you may see 1 or 2 of the Davises not play because Todd Sibley turned in a solid performance against Delaware, and I look for him to continue to get more carries against Duke Saturday night.
Yeah, he was the first 100-yard rusher this year and the first 100-yard rusher in quite a few games for the Panthers dating back to last year, and It's interesting because everything you read from the the local newspapers and people who were able to get to training camp, it was him and AJ Davis kind of neck and neck coming out of camp, and then all of a sudden after a week or two he's buried down in that third slot. So it's nice to see him with the mental toughness continue to go to work and be able to, even though it is against Delaware, put in a workman-like performance, so to speak, in 20 plus carries. But let me get your brief kind of synopsis, and then we'll do a little bit of a preview of Duke. 3-2 Pitt Panthers sneak past a 1AA team. We talked about the roller coaster. Obviously, social media was up in arms because even Pitt's backup should be able to beat Delaware by more than 3 points, and this is embarrassing. And it's
That's true.
So what's your take on that? Even with all these injuries, Nick Patty, I guess he performed what looked to be okay, made some nice throws, but just you're not able to, I guess, physically dominate Delaware.
That was the surprising part. I would have thought that Pitt could have ran the ball for over 200 yards. Simply had a good game. He brings a little more physicality to the game. He's a little bit bigger than the Davises, so. I was glad to see that, but yeah, you're absolutely right. I would have thought even with their second or even in some case third stringers in there, they should have been able to play a more impressive game. What people don't realize about this game is, the Pitt defense pretty much suffocated Delaware. I mean, they weren't going anywhere. I think Delaware had over 100-some yards of total offense.
Yeah, their two touchdowns were, once again, 30, 40 yards short fields, just like UVA week 1.
Short fields, which made the decision for Pat Narduzzi to try a 57-yard field goal even more numbing. Whereas you punt the ball, is Delaware really going to go 90 yards on you? And your punter's playing extremely well. Your field goal kicker, not so much, So.
Yeah, and there were times earlier in the game where he had gone for it, and it would have been, I think, like a 52-yarder or something. It may have even been the first drive of the game or second drive, and yeah, it's some of his game day decisions still, leave a little to be desired from a fan's perspective.
I couldn't agree more, and I will say, regarding the UCF and Delaware game, the UCF was a roller coaster ride. The Delaware game, there was no roller coaster. It was down from the start. I got to be honest with you, Kevin. I'm a Pitt diehard. I couldn't even listen to it. I was so pissed at what I was listening to. I would like to say watch it, but again, with the ACC network, we don't have to go down that road again. People here on the East Coast were pretty much unable to watch it.
Right.
So anyway, we were, going back to the 1980s where I was listening to it on the radio and just pissed of what I was listening to, and the lack of focus, the penalties, the drop balls. Those are the things you have to clean up, and that just comes down to, I think there was just a major letdown after playing Penn State and UCF. You knew it was coming. I just didn't think it would be to this extreme. And historically, Narduzzi teams have come ready to play against these types of teams, but last Saturday against Delaware, not so much, and they were very fortunate to escape with that win.
They really were, and it was a perfect storm of like a letdown combination because we touched on it. You have Narduzzi maybe sitting these guys because they got in trouble or they're injured, so that's kind of sending the message to the team of, well, we're going to beat them anyway. They're not very good. It doesn't matter who's dressed, who's playing, whoever it is going to win. So then as a team, you kind of go, yeah, okay, I'm going to play some more video games tonight instead of watching extra film because, dude, our top 2 running backs aren't even playing and we're still going to smoke these fools. Do you know what I'm saying? Yeah. So it's just a whole week of preparation, and it basically just shows you what emotion and intensity can do in the game of football. It's one of the only sports where straight intensity and emotion can just truly make a difference in performance. With basketball or baseball or hockey, it's too much finesse. But football, if one team shows up emotionally ready to go and the other one doesn't, no matter where the talent level is, it's going to be a competitive ball game.
Absolutely right. Couldn't agree with you more. Could not agree with you more.
But as we jump back into ACC action here for the last 6 or 7 weeks of the season, I think obviously Pitt will be ready to play each week. It hasn't been a problem for stretches in the Narduzzi era. Like you said, I think it was just the combination of the letdown week in between 2 top 15 teams in conference play. It's bound to happen. So you escape with a win. Just survive and advance, March Madness style, right? Just win, baby.
Hey, Kevin, when Pitt wins out, no one's going to remember the Delaware game.
Exactly. So you get these guys back for Duke, who honestly kicked the shit out of Virginia Tech, man. I didn't see that coming in last week.
No, I didn't see that coming in either. That was kind of disturbing to see. But, man, what's happened to Virginia Tech? I mean, that's become a shit show down there. And there's guys, kids wanting to leave. And I just think it's an awful situation down there. And I did not see the game. But based on the score and so forth, you can only assume Virginia Tech quit. And Duke just rolled, and that game really did surprise me. It really did.
Yeah, Virginia Tech has a $8.5 million question mark at head coach right now with a buyout and everything going on with that decision.
Exactly.
But
exactly.
I didn't know a lot about Duke until the past couple of days. Started doing some research. Didn't even realize that they played number 1 Alabama the first week of the year and got hammered. But since then, have been very impressive and been scoring points. Middle Tennessee State, who, by the way, kudos to them in their schedule, dude. They got Michigan and then Duke, and then they played somebody else. I forget who it was that was really good. I mean, come on, dude. What are you guys doing there?
I know, that's overscheduling as well.
Hey, right. When they said, what's the benefit of playing Michigan, and the head coach looks dead in the eyes, said $1.6 million, I could play for that guy. I got no problem with that. I got no problem, but
absolutely right.
But
absolutely
Duke scoring points tends to be pass heavy. They're going to be without their lead running back for this game, and looks like the foreseeable future, maybe the rest of the season, with a shoulder problem. So inexperience at running back for the Blue Devils. Obviously, the head coach and the quarterback have history with Daniel Jones and the Mannings before him, and typically has been able to score points. So how do you feel about Pitt's defense? Jason Pinnock, is he going to be able to keep up with these go routes? Because we know what Pitt's going to do. We know we're going to see the one-on-one deep balls. We know we're going to see the blitzes. How are you feeling? Do you think Duke and their 40-some points per week the past couple of weeks is the real deal?
I think the Pitt defense will show up, but it's going to be a little bit different for them this week. And the reason I say that, when I watch some of the Duke highlights and some of the Duke film, they get the ball out real quick. I think they've only allowed like 1 sack a game or something like that.
It's 1 sack all year, man.
All year. There you go, right? So he's getting the ball out, okay? And by the way, that 1 sack all year includes the Alabama game.
Right.
Okay, so there is – I think it's more of them getting the ball out quickly than the offensive line. The offensive line starts 2 freshman tackles, which I think Pitt will be able to take advantage of, okay? And to your earlier point, Miho, with Pitt playing up close and personal on the corners, that's going to be an interesting situation, because quarterbacks from Duke's going to want to get rid of the ball. And if that's taken away, if that first read's taken away, and he's got to go to a second, third read, then I think Pitt has the advantage. And I think just based on the cornerback play that Pitt can roll out there, I like the matchup. Yeah, they may get burned on a deep ball. They may get burned on the pass interference calls.
Oh, they're going to for sure, because Duke's going to throw the ball 60 goddamn times.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. So it's going to happen. But I think all in all, I think the defense will play very well against Duke. They've certainly not shown me anything for me to consider anything else.
The advantage, once again, up front, you said it, Duke's allowed 1 sack. Pitt has 24 of them, which is tied for either 5th or 6th nationally, depending on which day, whose games you're looking at. But like you said, get rid of the ball quick, press coverage. That means one of 2 things. That means you're either running slant routes or go routes, because anything other than that, it's going to take too long to develop. So, like I said, you're going to see kind of that deep ball after deep ball after deep ball if they're going to get rid of the ball. very quickly. So, I think Pitt's defense can make plays. And honestly, that's how they've been getting their turnovers is the other team's been trying to go deep. They've been getting pressure on the quarterback, and the balls have been either tipped or floating or haven't been getting there. And, safeties and linebackers have been taking advantage of kind of just the ball falling into their hands. So they're going to need one or two of those to continue to win because road game, ACC home opener for the Duke Blue Devils. But honestly, man, it sucks. But I think the outcome of this game may come down to whether or not Nick Patty or Kenny Pickett's playing quarterback for the Panthers.
Well, that's very true. And one other point I want to make on the defensive side of the ball is their quarterback likes to run. And so he's a run passer type guy, so they're going to have to contain him.
That's nothing new for the Panthers, though.
No, it's not. They've seen that type of guy before, right? So, but he may be the best of the lot.
Okay.
To be honest with you in that regards. On the offensive side of the ball, I don't hear many accolades for the Duke defense. I will call them an average defense, simply because I don't know of anything else how else to describe them at this point. So I think Pitt will have its opportunities. But to your point, Miho, who's quarterbacking this team, and who are the running backs? And
well, don't ask Narduzzi because he doesn't know.
Exactly right. So I'm gonna, Pickett is practicing this week, so I am going to go with the assumption that Pickett is quarterbacking. One of the Davises will be running along with Sibley. And we'll have our full stable of guys on offense. So,
and if Pitt does, I think they can find success because as I was scrolling through the games, I said, "Oh, Alabama 42-3," and I said, "Wait a minute." Now that Pitt with Whipple runs more of this spread offense, they're going to be able to pull a lot of these plays, formations, execution from that Alabama game to figure out how they spread out Duke defensively, how they worked with it. Because instead of this ground and pound, smash, it is the shotgun, which Tua's doing down in Alabama, and very similar style of offenses. So you may see a few plays from week one if you're a Duke fan out there listening that look familiar from Pitt's side of things, because I think they may pull a couple just right off that Alabama tape that seemed to work for the Roll Tide.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Could not agree more with that. And I look for this offense to kind of reestablish itself, get back into type of play they had against UCF. The offense played pretty well against UCF, and I look for that to continue. I think the Delaware game was just a burp, and I look for this offense to score some points this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. One final thing I thought was interesting, reading some quotes from some Duke players. They had a linebacker. He was talking to the media and basically said, if we stop the run with Pitt, we know we're going to have to stop the run. Everything else kind of falls in place from there because everybody's referencing the 200 plus, 250, 300 yards that Pitt put up last year. And then the coach came out and in a different interview said, well, we know Pitt's a lot more balanced this year. And, it's a different offense, different coordinator. And I kind of chuckled inside and I was like, yeah, somebody's got to tell this linebacker that Pitt's not going to be running the ball on first and second down every time here, dude. I don't know how much 2018 film you want to be watching of the Panther-Duke game, my man. But, hey, keep doing your thing. Keep stuffing the run,
Yeah, hey, that's right. Stuff the run, absolutely. Good luck with you. And, what is Pitt? I think they're second in the nation in passing attempts.
Right, and Pickett's there in dropbacks. It's like, holy shit, man. Come on, dude. They don't run the ball like that anymore. So.
Exactly. Exactly right. And that is funny. That just goes to show you how, I'm going to assume since the kid's a Dookie, he's been going to class and hasn't kept up to date on current events in the ACC.
Yeah, that's the problem. He's up to date in world economics, but not
exactly.
Panther film. But
exactly right.
Hey, before I let you run, man, give me a prediction for this weekend. Let's assume Pickett's going. Whether one of the Davises are going. Obviously, the defense maybe minus Pinnock, because I think even if he goes, that hammy's going to bother him. And he may not finish. We've seen that as an Eagles fan for Sidney Jones for 2 years, how corners and hamstrings tend to go at halftime. So assume they're all going, and give me your prediction on the way out.
By the way, the buzzword on hamstrings is soft tissue injuries.
Oh, okay, yes.
So we have some soft tissue injuries. I don't think
as opposed to the hard tissue injuries.
Exactly. I don't think Pinnock's going to go. I mean, if there's any doubt, I wouldn't play it because Pitt has a bye next week. So, I mean, that would give them, 3 straight weeks to be able to heal and get back in.
That's
so
a good
if there's
point.
any question, I wouldn't send them out there. But, I look at this game. I look at Pitt winning this game 31-17.
Oh!
I look for the defense to get some turnovers, which I look for Pitt to get some short field opportunities for the first time in a long time. And I look for the defense to continue to play well. And I got Pitt 31-17.
No, man. 2 touchdowns. Jeez,
exactly.
They're getting points. Easy money out there, Mr. Listeners. Take the money line. You don't even need the points.
Bet the mortgage. Bet the mortgage, listeners, okay? And for those of you that are unhappy in your married life, bet the wife while you're at it.
There it is. What the hell? Put it all down. Oh, man. I am not as confident as that. I do think Pitt, coming into this game, I'm kind of throwing the Delaware game aside. Just saying it is what it is. The defense is the defense, so we know what we're getting on that side of the football. And it's going to be, I think, between 20 and 30, because I do think Duke's offense is solid. I know UCF's was spectacular, but they got into the 30s. Penn State's not as great in the 10s, so I'll put them in between there. It's just going to be a matter of if Pitt's offense can score points. If they get the turnovers, create the short fields, they've been able to do it. If they haven't, they have not been able to do it. So direct correlation there, man. But I think Pitt gets 1 or 2 on the road. I'm thinking something along the lines of 27-24 Panthers, 24-20, right along those lines. I do think it's going to be a really good football game because I think these two teams are evenly matched here in the Coastal and, can possibly both win the division based on how obviously other things play out.
Well, and that's true. But, the other question is, how good is Virginia Tech, right? So what's going on? If Virginia Tech is not very good, and they are the shit show that I mentioned they are earlier, then Duke has played 3 really bad football teams. Okay, and that's what, and I believe that to be the case, to be honest with you. So that's why, I have a lot of confidence in the Panthers this weekend.
I get that.
And after coming off the Delaware game, this team is going to be ready to play Saturday. This team is going to be ready to play Saturday. So that's why I think it's a big win for our Pitt Panthers.
Going into the bye week, feeling good. It certainly would be positive momentum, 3 straight into a bye. Then you got 5 straight ACC games down the stretch, and what could be a little bit of a snowball here turning into an avalanche. We can only hope.
Exactly right. Of course, my prediction is based on Kenny Pickett playing.
I'll make sure to put an asterisk in the description of the episode for you there, so you can hedge your bets. Jesus, you're riding the fence earlier. Now he's hedging bets. This guy's unbelievable. But thanks for joining us out there, everybody. Thanks for listening. We appreciate it. Hopefully you enjoyed this Pitt Panthers Podcast Series. Chris Mihalik, Kevin Mihalik here on Too Close to Call. Check us out on all the social media. If you're seeing us on the social media, check us out on the podcast app, Apple Podcasts, Spotify. So whichever way you guys are seeing us here, do me a favor, check out the other one. Click follow, subscribe. We love talking to you guys about Pitt. We'd love to hear your feedback. Give us your takes. We'll share it. And we'll talk more Pitt Panthers football as we roll on here through the month of October.
Thank you very much, Miho, and Ali Kanak, and hail to Pitt.